Good morning. Happy Thursday. And welcome to the State of My Being address. And I'm also going to be talking about last night's episode of The Masked Singer too. But, if you're not familiar with how this works, I make this video every 100 days as a means to elaborate how I'm feeling at the moment, as well as go over a lot of major things that have happened over the last 100 days. I mean, I talk about how excited I am about things, how sad I am about things, or maybe I'm a bit angry about some things, even though I try not to really have those kinds of videos. But I could do a better job with that. That's why I created the State of My Being address, because it lets you all know how I'm doing physically, emotionally, mentally, and whatever. This is the 19th time I've done this video, as it was day 400 that I first did this. And when I first did it on day 400, it was the day after my brother and it was actually the day after the Super Bowl. Specifically, Tom Brady's last Super Bowl as a New England Patriot. And I barely saw any of the Super Bowl at all that year because my brother and I got into a huge argument that lasted pretty much the entire game. And little would I know that it was because of that argument, for the entirety of his wife's pregnancy, we didn't speak. I wouldn't know that then, but that's what wound up happening. Not since day 400 have I ever actually looked at like a previous set of 100 days and then think to myself, while there was a lot of good things that happened, and I will be getting into that, this is hands down the most difficult set of 100 days I think I've had to go through. Before I talk about that though, as per usual, I have a low and high act of kindness. I would say that my low was just how crazy the weather's been. Like, it seems like for every 5 minutes of sunshine we get like at least 5 hours worth of rain. And I'm lowballing that number. I mean, I could probably make a prediction as to why the heavens may be weeping, but considering it's been well over a week now, I think you could piece it together. My high is I got to be with my parents yesterday. We watched The Masked Singer last night, which I am going to be talking about, especially since it was Queen night, which I love Queen. And my act of kindness was I brought the garbage cans in at my folks' place and I emptied their dishwasher. So, yeah. Honestly, considering everything that's happened over the last week, just a simple average day like yesterday was what I needed to clear my mind and process everything. But before I get into that, let's talk about The Masked Singer. This won't be long because I have much to discuss. Well, it was the Group A finals last night on The Masked Singer. It was Queen night, and there was a group performance of We Are the Champions. It's great stuff. Listen, it's Queen. Pretty much any song they've ever done has been bare minimum well above average. So, yeah, I mean, the entire Group A doing We Are the Champions. Ugly Sweater did I Want to Break Free. Starfish did Under Pressure, the song that Queen did with David Bowie. I mean, Goldfish doing The Show Must Go On. I mean, these are all really great Queen songs. And it was like, this was actually I mean, I kind of knew that the Ugly Sweater was going to get eliminated first. But considering that it was Robin Thicke that guessed correctly who it was, Charlie Wilson, and then, because Charlie Wilson was part of the Gap Band, Charlie Wilson saying, "You dropped the bomb on me" as his encore performance, I'm like, yeah, this is awesome. And then came the Battle Royale between Goldfish and Starfish. Look, I knew from the very beginning Goldfish was probably going to be the winner of Group A. But damn it if Starfish didn't give it her all. And, I mean, don't get me wrong, I love the song Another One Bites the Dust, as that was the Battle Royale song. But, well, here's the thing. It's very clear that both the Goldfish and the Starfish are women. So sing the song Good Old Fashioned Lover Boy, probably not a good idea. But like, Somebody to Love, that would have been a great song to do. I mean, it's not like I was expecting this episode to do the entirety of Bohemian Rhapsody. I mean, there were some Queen puns where, you know, is it real life or is it fantasy? Like, that was a pun that was said last night. But you know what? Another One Bites the Dust. Solid Battle Royale song. Both Goldfish and Starfish were great, but as I predicted, the Goldfish was going to win Group A. So the Starfish had to get unmasked. And I think this is the first episode I've seen in a long time where multiple panelists got multiple guesses right. Like, Robin Thicke first got the Ugly Sweater right. He guessed to Charlie Wilson. And then Ken Jeong guessed Kate Flannery for Starfish. And that's awesome. But now we have group. So as of right now, the quarterfinals consist of the Goldfish from Group A, both the Poodle Moth and the Clock from Group C, and that's it. Now we have Group B doing a girl group night, which, I mean, there were several girl groups like the Spice Girls, TLW. I mean, they could do the Cheetah Girls. That was a girl group. I'm totally a Disney kid. Yeah, of course. I mean, I gotta go with Doug Walker. The Cheetah Girls movie doesn't hold up that well. The second one's a little bit better. So, take that what you will. But, yeah. We're officially, actually, we should have about, after last night, we have about 5 episodes left, because girl group is going to be April 24th. The Group E finals will be a week later, on May 1st. That's going to be awesome. Let's see. The quarterfinals should be a week later. I'm sure there's going to be like one clip show episode. But I'm getting the feeling the finale is going to be right before Memorial Day weekend, which should be pretty good. And speaking of Memorial Day weekend, let's get into the state of my being. I said earlier in the video that this was probably the most difficult set of the 100 days to trudge through. And here's the thing. It's not like, it's probably coming across that like every single day was bad. Far from it. In fact, there was a lot of good that happened. I mean, let's say for the sake of argument, after what happened on Valentine's Day, I never fully recover from that and come to the conclusion that a day like that was necessary. I know I said I would never bring up what happened on Valentine's Day again, but I gotta be honest, we gotta include the entirety of the 100 days, so let's get this over with. Like, let's say I don't recover emotionally and mentally from what happened on Valentine's Day. I think I'd eventually sort of forget about that and move on. Actually, best case scenario what was happening. I came to the realization that what happened on Valentine's Day was incredibly necessary. I needed to have that happen. And I still stand by it. Point is, if what happened on Valentine's Day was all it was, I don't think I'd be in the sort of mental state that I'm in right now. And what's so crazy is, like, this is supposed to be winter. And we've actually had a pretty mild winter. That's awesome. I mean, we're upstate New York. We never get this lucky. I mean, yeah, we've kind of been bamboozled a couple times with the weather, but nothing to a crazy degree. So, that's good. And not to mention, there was a whole bunch of stuff I did. For Scat and Sketty, I won my very first game of Scat. And all the good stuff that happened in the month of March. Like, I won a free ticket to go to a whiskey tasting that I went to. St. Patrick's Day weekend. What else happened? Lent ended. So, we had Easter. Easter was great. I got to see family that day. Actually, both of my families. Holy cow. I mean, it really, seriously, this 100 days was set up to be pretty solid overall. And for all intents and purposes, it was. There's just no way I ever could have predicted what would have wound up happening just over a week ago, though. Which, if you don't already know, my grandmother died. And this previous weekend that I just had, like last weekend, the day before Monday when we had the funeral, like, that was a damn good weekend. Like, I got to be with my family. I went to a jazz concert going on over at the Illegal Tap House, where I did some dancing and stuff like that. Hung out at Picks for a little while. And so many people reached out and sent their condolences for my grandmother passing. Which, I could never thank you guys enough for that. Really and truly. Like, what could I possibly do to make up for that? Except continue to live my life and continue to be grateful for those who are kind to me. I mean, I was always going to do that, but, it's just so bizarre that, my grandmother was perfectly fine one day, and then quite literally the day before my grandfather turned 90, that's when she got sick. And she just never recovered. And here's the thing, it was a stomach bug that did her in at first. Like, it was a stomach bug, and then pneumonia. And she was already the kind of person that didn't really eat much anyway, but she, like, legit refused to eat or do anything. And what's silly is, like, the day that she died, we had, like visiting angels, Care First New York, hospice, physical therapy. We had everything ready to help her. And then she died. And this whole week has just been a whirlwind of emotions. I mean, yeah, it was absolutely sad. Yeah, it was, and you know what, here's the thing. Like, this past weekend again, specifically Sunday, we celebrated my brother's birthday. Family was coming from all over for the funeral, obviously. This past weekend was so good, I almost forgot why everybody was even here. But then came the harsh reality of what happened on Monday. We had to have my grandmother's funeral. What could I say? It was my grandmother's funeral. It's like one of the worst days in my family's history. And I had to get through that. It was rough. I did all I could. My brother and I both did readings. My brother did a reading from the Book of Wisdom. I did a reading from the first letter of St. Paul to the Corinthians. By the way, in case anyone's wondering, in the readings I had to do, yes, the famous love is patient, love is kind, that's also from the first letter of St. Paul to the Corinthians. Thankfully, I didn't have to do that one. That would not be an appropriate reading for that event, I can assure you. I'm trying to levy the mood here a little bit. This is very, very somber, I'm trying to tell you. Two times in my entire life have I ever actually seen my father act weepy. The first was when he had a few words to say when my grandmother first turned 80. And the second time was at the end of the service, before we all had to go to the funeral, I'll go to the cemetery to lay my grandmother in the mausoleum. And he had a few words to say. As soon as he started with saying, hopefully I can get through this, I knew we were in for something pretty heavy. But he got through it. Not once did I cry, but good Lord, did I feel it. And right now, my family and I are just dealing with the aftermath. My grandmother's really gone. Whenever my father returns to the shop, because my grandmother would visit all the time, he looked in the office to see if my grandmother was there, and, she wasn't. For me, it's the fact that I'll never be able to hear her voice in person again. Again, I can close my eyes and imagine it, sure. But just imagining someone's voice and hearing their voice in real life are two completely different things. And I'm never gonna hear that again. This isn't the first time I've lost a grandparent. In fact, it's the third time. And even now, having been over 4 years since I lost my grandfather, and not even a full year since I lost my other grandmother, I can still hear their voices if I think about them. And I get the feeling that's not going to change with my grandmother either. My other grandmother, that is. Because, I had 4 And you know what? I said it before, I'll say it again. When I first started making videos every day, I knew deep down there would be days like the passing of a grandparent. Considering that I've been very lucky where all 4 of my grandparents, when I first started making videos, were still alive. So I can say I've been pretty blessed. But now I only have just my grandfather and my father's side left. And it's tough. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that everything's hunky-dory, because it isn't. Just about the only thing. And whenever a friend of mine loses a loved one, Here's the thing. When you know you can have good advice about stuff like this, like, it's easy to sort of feel bad, but then when it happens to you, it's hard to remember it. My point is, if there's one thing I've learned from losing 3 out of 4 of my grandparents, is that no matter what, life still goes on. And again, I've been blessed to have, all 4 of my grandparents be a part of my life. Because some people just aren't that lucky. Some people don't have that kind of luxury. And that's very sad. And if you are one of those people watching, you have my sympathies and my condolences. But it's rough. That's the only way I can describe it. It's just rough. I mean, hopefully at some point, I'll be able to, hopefully the next 100 days are going to be better. I really hope they are. Although, the beginning of May is going to be rough. I mean, we do have Mother's Day coming up, which is another thing that makes me sad. Because this is going to be the first Mother's Day where I won't be able to get my grandmother flowers and a card. But I get the feeling my family will get together that day somehow. I don't know how they will, but I'm sure they will. You got Mother's Day coming up, Father's Day coming up, Memorial Day weekend. We're going to be up at Cuca Lake in just over a month from now. Like, I should be pumped. And for all intents and purposes, I am. But this is just hard to ignore. And that's where I'm at right now. And not to mention, again, Mother's Day, Father's Day, the 4th of July. In fact, I actually did a little bit of math. The next state of my being address, I'm not going to be in the state of New York. I'm going to be in Colorado. Yeah, I'm going to be in the beautiful state of Colorado. And, it's going to be to scatter my grandmother's ashes on my mother's side, the one who passed away last May. But, you know what? I think it would be fitting that I'm going to be surrounded by family. Because, good Lord, am I going to need it. But for now, I'll just take things one day at a time, like I've always done. And for sure, you're going to see me in much brighter spirits going forward. It's just going to take some time getting there. So, physically, I'm perfectly fine, although I will admit I think I'm coming down with a cold. But mentally, I have been better. But, again, one day at a time. And, even this weekend I have stuff to look forward to. Like, my friend is opening up her candle shop at the end of this week. You better believe I'm going to go. Not to mention, there's another Scat and Sketty. I'm going to go to that. That's going to be awesome. So, fingers crossed this weekend is exactly what the doctor ordered. Oh, actually, 80s, 90s not over illegal. That's another thing happening this weekend. So again, fingers crossed this weekend's going to be good. So, yeah. I don't really have much else to say at the moment. I think I've said just about all I have to. I mean, sometimes whenever I do the State of My Being address, I wind up finding some sort of quote to, use or say or, whatever. But, I haven't done it for every time. 1900 days later, and I still can't quite get a handle on. Yeah, that's it. I've done this 19 times. And You know, that's another thing I guess I've been blessed by. Like, I can take some pride knowing that it quite literally took the death of my grandmother to get this kind of reaction out of me. So I guess that's sort of a fine way to rationalize why I'm feeling sad. At least I think it is, I don't know. Sorry if you've probably heard me talk forever. Lord knows I've talked enough right now. But regardless, I'm still very humbled that I made this video for all you guys to watch and enjoy for today. I'm hopeful that we have a wonderful, wonderful Thursday. And remember, if any of you guys want to talk or chat, I'm always going to be here to lend and always have your back. Take care and make good choices. 607 all day, baby.